So I wanted to do a video going over all of my thoughts on Final Fantasy Origin. I have been playing this quite a bit. I've probably got around 10 hours in the current demo, and I put around 8 in the previous one. So, I want to go ahead and get everything out of the way in this one and everything I think about it. So let's go ahead and start with my favorite thing, the gameplay. I think the gameplay is really, really fun. I think the job class system works really well. I think the Mage system is really good. A lot of people don't like the roulette wheel, but I think it's probably the best way to work it out, right? It's a little cumbersome in certain situations, but to say that it is absolute garbage is completely incorrect. I think the roulette wheel is a completely fine way of working through the Mage job, right? That's not an easy thing to figure out with all that different type of magic. I think it's fine. So yeah. And I'm just going to go through all the jobs, and I'll go through all the main mechanics. So, for the next job, I think that easily the worst one I played with was either Duelist or Dragoon. Now, Duelist can be good in certain ways, but I feel like Duelist doesn't have enough, right? It doesn't feel like it has something to give it more oomph, right? It feels fine, right? But like, I think Duelist could feel a lot better. Because, I mean, just going to compare it to the first thing I know with that class, Iggy feels a lot better in Final Fantasy 15, right? He's Duelist and Dragoon. And I think that Duelist in this game feels kind of eh. I feel like it's definitely the worst. And then runner-up is definitely Dragoon. Dragoon just feels kind of lame, right? I feel like Dragoon could be a lot cooler, but it just feels really lame. And then the next class would be Great Sword User. I think that the Great Sword is really good. I think they did a good job of making a big, heavy weapon not feel too heavy. I think I really like the Great Sword. It was my favorite until I tried the Broadsword. And yeah, I think that the Great Sword is really good. And then there's the Broadsword User. I think the Broadsword is definitely the best one. You know, it's just, you got good speed, you got good power, you got good abilities, you got good stagger, you got everything. You got a shield, you have a lot of everything with a Broadsword. It's hard to go wrong with it, and I think it's definitely really good. And then the next one is Monk. Monk is, it's tough to say. Monk is a lot of fun, but I think Monk is kind of, what's the word for it here? Monk feels kind of strange to use because it feels like you can't hardly hit the enemies, right? Your range feels really short, and that's a big problem I have with Duelist. I played through the Chaos Shrine with all of the jobs, same with the Referent Weapons. I played through it with all of them. And something I noticed with Pugilist and Duelist in particular is reach. When I was fighting Chaos Advent, I would have a hard time reaching with both of those, especially Duelist. I'd have a very hard time reaching him after a dodge. So, I definitely think that Duelist is the weakest one. I think Monk is really good, does a lot of damage, but I think, I don't know, the range, I guess it's kind of a trade-off, right? It's kind of like whether you choose to use the Nemesis Whips or the Nemean Cestus in God of War 3, right? It's like you can have a good balance of range and power, or you can just have a whole lot of power, right? But yeah, I think Pugilist was good. Now for something, I think the advanced jobs suck. I think they do not do enough to set themselves apart from the regular. And in particular, I'm talking about the Mage. You have Red Mage, White Mage, and Black Mage. Now, White Mage can be handy if you're doing co-op online, right? I think this has a use. Black Mage and Red Mage, absolutely not. You should always use the normal Mage because you can charge up magic in your normal Mage. To my knowledge, you cannot charge up in Red, Black, or White Mage. Cannot charge up. I think. I tried, I didn't see it charging. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But Red Mage in particular is just garbage, right? Like, Chain Spell, it's not good. It's just not. If it was like, with 1 MP gauge, you could use all those different magics, it would be good. And I'll get to the MP in a bit. but I think red mage was definitely the worst. Black mage is fine if you want like flare and stuff, and white mage, you know, for co-op. But I always I recommend using normal mage. It's a lot better being able to charge up. Another advanced job, I feel like none of them do a really good job to set themselves apart, like knight, warrior, monk, thief, dragoon. None of them do a really good job of setting themselves apart at all, I don't think. Like, I think you're just, in almost all situations, you're honestly better off just using the normal one. Like, for sword fighter, I'm not doing it in this footage, but I think you're better off using just sword fighter because you have the counter. And the counter is really, really good. I think you're just better off using that. So, and I like the job switching, and I like that it has different break gauges. You know, it adds a bit more strategy to the combat, right? Overall, I think that the job switching, I think the job system in itself is really, really good. I would just really like to see the advanced jobs get a bit more stuff to them in the main game, and they may, right? They may. And I would like to see duelists get a bit more stuff, you know. So the next game mechanic, this is one I see a lot of people saying is useless. Lightbringer. Now the thing with Lightbringer is insanely powerful, right? It is insanely good. However, I feel like, one, it should not take your maximum MP. 2 MP gauges is fine, not 2 of your maximum MP. I think that's what it does, and it is that's not good. Because there's way too many things using MP in this game, but I'll get to that in a bit. Lightbringer is really good. It feels like a great equalizer. You do a lot more damage. You stagger very easy, and you stagger enemies very easy. Lightbringer is really, really good, right? I really like Lightbringer. Soul Shield, I really like the Blue Mage stuff with Soul Shield. I think it's really, really fun. You know, having certain absorbable and redirectable attacks, I think it's really, really cool. I really like that. And Soul Burst is the next thing, the takedown thing. I think it's great. I think it's really cool. All different enemy types have their own unique animations, which is really, really cool. And a lot of games don't do that. Like, I think Maximilian Dude put it the best when he said, it'd be like if in Bloodborne, every single enemy had their own visceral attack animation, right? Like, that's pretty much what it is, and that's a lot of work, and it's really cool. I really like the Soul Burst thing, and let me see. Okay, so now for the combo abilities. I like them, except for one thing. I really feel like, one, you should be able to equip any of them on any button, right? Having to restrict them like that is kind of annoying. And with the job system, I feel like the advanced versions of jobs should have the base jobs manual R2 ability. Like Knight, if you're using a broadsword, should still have the option to use the counter, right? And if you're using Warrior with a greatsword, you should still have the option to use Spinning Slash instead of Warcry. I would rather use Warcry, but I'm just saying having more options is always nice. You know, with Dragoon, you should be able to use Throw instead of Jump. Now, I think Jump's better, but still. You see what I'm getting at, though, right? I definitely think that you should be able to use those with that. But for the combo abilities, I think you should be able to equip them on any of the buttons. It would make them a lot more usable. I think they're fine. I think they're really good. They're really satisfying. But something else is, I think almost all of them should not take MP. There are way too many things taking MP in this game. Entirely too many. Your MP is just always gone. Now in this footage, you see I keep MP on me a lot because I've played this demo for 10 hours, right? I've learned to manage this stuff. But what I mean by learning to manage, I mean never using the ones that take 2 MP. That's what I mean. Because if you use the ones that take 2 MP, be gone in seconds. Seconds. You know, okay, I think that the ones that take 1 MP now should take no MP in the main game. And I think that the ones that take 2 MP now should take 1 MP, because they are just the better abilities, right? Because you have Magic taking MP, you have combo abilities taking 1 or 2 MP, and you have your command skills taking MP, right? So you have all this stuff taking so much MP, and that if you don't know how to like manage it, and by manage I mean never using the ones that take 2, which kind of sucks because you're not using, what you're getting from the skill tree, right? I think if you could balance that out, it would be great. I would really like it a lot more. Next, for the command skills, I think they're almost all garbage, right? Like, I get it. It's just kind of neat stuff you can do. But why would you ever need to do it? Lightbringer is the only one that's really any good. Sway back from Dragoon is okay in certain times. I think in that video I uploaded of me fighting Chaos, I used it in that once, I think. Just because it was just, a quick way to get out of there, which is good, right? But again, that's something that takes 1 MP. Again, like, if they all are taking 1 to 2 MP, Lightbringer takes 2 of your maximum MP, I think. Like, you have way too much stuff taking way too much MP. So either some stuff shouldn't take MP or as much MP, or you should get MP a lot quicker. Right, and they did make it where you get MP a lot quicker now, right? They changed that, but again, it's entirely too many things. But yeah, so I guess that's everything on the gameplay. Well, I guess no. Your allies, so much better. So much better. They added the thing where you can make them, be more aggressive, but I never use that. You know why? Because the AI is already naturally better. Neon carries the other 2 party members. Well, not Jack. She carries Ash and Jed, right? Ash and Jed are okay, but they're not great. Neon is amazing. She is way too good. But yeah, I think the party members are great. That's everything for the gameplay for the most part. So now let me go to the enemies. I think most of them are good. I think there are a few exceptions. The Goblin Guard and the Chaos Shrine is way too overpowered. His super armor through all of your attacks really sucks. I really hate it. I don't like super armor at all, and I really don't like it there. But I definitely think that most of the enemies are really good, with the exception of the Goblin Guard and probably the Harpies. I hate the Harpies. I hate them so much. When I saw the Corels in this demo, I was expecting Corels to be my nemesis, like they are in every game. In Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, 12, were they in 12? In all the games they're in, they are my arch nemesis, right? I have a hard time with Corels in every single game. And while I did definitely have a hard time with them at first in this game, the Harpies absolutely destroy me. Because you don't have a dedicated ranged attack system, which means that unless you're just using magic, which is kind of slow, the Harpies are going to absolutely eviscerate you, and I really wish that wasn't the case. We need like a bowman or something. Like, you need a class for that. You need a class for something. Or make the Harpies not fly above your reach, because those things absolutely decimate you sometimes. But yeah. The enemies, for the most part, really good. I like both of the bosses. I think Chaos Advent was great. I think Elemental Core, while not as good, was fine, right? I think his second phase kind of sucks, but I mean, the first phase, balancing out fighting 2 enemies was really cool. Fighting Chaos Advent was great. And the second phase of Elemental Core isn't bad, it's just definitely not as good as the first one. But yeah. That's it for the enemies, so now let's go to level design. I've seen a fair bit of complaints about the level design. Honestly, in the Chaos Shrine I can see it. It's the same, because it's the same thing over and over again, right? You go, you fight the room full of enemies, and you go to the little gray vagina on the wall that spits out the enemies. You soul burst that, and then you walk across a tower you just knocked over, right? It's what you do the entire time. Which is fair enough. I think the referent wetlands were great. I really enjoyed the referent wetlands. I think they were a lot of fun. I think they got the level design a lot better. The enemies, The enemies in both were great, but the referent wetlands in particular were just really, really good. Really loved the referent wetlands. And then I guess next would be music. I think the music is fantastic. I mean, it's Final Fantasy, right? Music, there's not a Final Fantasy with a bad soundtrack. Even my most hated one, Type 0, well, 13.2 and Type 0, have amazing soundtracks. Because it's Final Fantasy, of course it's going to be great music, right? And it's the same here. The soundtrack is great, especially in the referent wetlands. Again, I think that area is just great. More on the level design of that, I think the thing they took from 13, what's it called? The weather changing thing. I think that really helped the level design a lot. So, like I said, the soundtrack is great. And now I'll talk about the voice acting, story, and characters. I think the voice acting is great, or it's fine, right? I don't have any issue at all with the voice acting. I think it works totally fine, right? In the cutscenes, they have this weird stilted anime robot talk, like some of the Square Enix stuff usually has, but it's not like Kingdom Hearts level or anything, right? In gameplay, I think that the dialogue is actually really good. I think that they do a really good job. The gameplay continues what 15 and 7 Remake did, where the characters talk like real people and not anime robots, right? They're fine in gameplay. And for the characters, Ash, Jed, and Neon are all fine. They're just fine. Not really anything else to say. Like I said, in cutscenes, they're kind of anime robot-y. In gameplay, I think they banter a lot better, right? They bounce off each other really well. And for Jack, Jack gets a lot of hate. And so I just popped my knuckles in the mic. Jack gets a lot of hate, right? For being so edgy. Just needlessly edgy. And in cutscenes and in story, I think it's really dumb. In gameplay, I think it's magnificent. I think it works so well. It makes the gameplay feel so satisfying when he's over there just losing it on him. I think Jack being this super edgy guy works really well in the gameplay. I really do enjoy it a lot. I love it. Maybe it's just because I love the demo as a whole, but I really like Jack being so edgy. In the cutscenes, it gets a little distracting because he is needlessly edgy. Like when Neon was talking about how chaos doesn't exist, he just bullshit. Play my music, and then he just walks off like, yes, this is the Final Fantasy character we need. But that being said, he's still fine, right? Okay, so for the story, I think the story so far is pretty fine. It's doing a really good job of setting up the events of Final Fantasy 1 with, as the trailer revealed, which Nomura and Nojima were smart for this, because they were talking to each other. I think it was Nomura and Nojima, and they said, dude, let's just reveal it now. Everyone's already guessed it. And then in the trailer, I woke up at like 6 o'clock in the morning, right, and I saw the trailer, and I was watching it, and I was like, oh, this game looks a bit better. And they said, I never asked your name, and Jack says, Garland. Jack Garland. And I just sprung up out of my bed. I was so excited because it was just so cool, right? This is the guy from Final Fantasy 1. And that was really cool. And I can't wait to see how Jack devolves into Garland. So I'm really excited to see that. It's going to make me have to play Garland in Dissidia whenever I play that again. Just because I'm like, hey, it's my edgelord boy. But yeah. Really, really cool. I like the story so far. I hope we see Warrior of Light at some point. That'll be cool. If we can see Warrior of Light. Maybe he's the final boss, who knows. But yeah. And now that I've sung this game's praises for almost 20 minutes, I have to talk about something that I do not like. Right? As much as I love this, it is impossible to defend this game's performance on PS5, Xbox Series X, Xbox Series S, all the platforms that it's currently on. It is impossible to defend this. This game has I don't think this looks like a PS3 game. I think this looks maybe a bit better than a PS3. This game looks a little better than Lightning Returns. That's the best way I can put it. This game looks a little... This looks like a Lightning Returns PS4 port. That's the way to put it. This game looks like Lightning Returns if it was ported to PS4. That's what it looks like. It's not to say it looks bad, but it definitely looks 7 years old, right? And for a game to look this way, running on next-gen hardware, and performance mode not being able to keep a steady 60 FPS, and resolution mode not being able to keep a steady 20 frames per second, it's pretty shameful. It's inexcusable to have that be the way it is. Again, I love this demo to death. And in performance mode, is it really that distracting? No, it's not. Right? Like, I know Max made a much bigger deal out of it in performance mode, which, granted, the frame drops for him in performance mode were much worse than they were for me. I don't have that bad of a time with it. I think it was fine. Maybe that's because I go back and play some old PS3 games regularly, so I'm just used to it at this point, but I definitely did not have that big of a problem with the frame drops in performance mode. But the fact that it can't maintain 60 FPS with these graphics on next-gen hardware, that's pretty rough. That's not a good look. And I think there's definitely room for improvements. And they did improve the graphics, right? The main thing they said was it's brighter. Sometimes a little too much. If you notice in the Reverend Wetlands, when the sun is shining on the grass, it is blinding. It is burning into my retinas with how bright it is. So, I think some of the brightness is a little bit too much. That's not to say I think the game looks bad again. I think if the game launches with the graphics like this, but balances out its frame rate, I am totally fine with it, right? I'll be playing it with a smile on my face, as happy as I can be. But if the game comes out still looking a little choppy, then it's going to be not so good, right? But yeah, that's my thoughts on this demo. And I guess I'll talk about the side quest too, because I didn't do that. It's kind of lame. It was just, fight all these enemies. Okay, now fight the bosses back to back. I did it on normal and hard. I did everything in this demo on normal and hard, right? And I got a ton of experience with every single job, right? I've done everything in this demo, except for play online. I haven't touched online because I just don't care to, right? But yeah, in terms of how much I like this demo, I had an insane amount of fun playing this. Like, I've played this demo for 10 hours. I've played both the Reverend Wetlands and the Chaos Shrine probably about 5 times each at this point, and I still really enjoy them. And I'm still really excited to see it when it comes out. I'm going to pre-order it. I'm going to play it. I'm going to love it, right? I can't wait for it. But yeah, let me know if you like this game. Because I know there's a lot of divisive things on this, right? A lot of people don't like this game. And I can definitely see why you wouldn't. But I think to say this game is complete garbage, doesn't deserve anything, doesn't even deserve to be made, there's not a single good concept to be found, I think that is objectively incorrect, right? I think that's pretty ignorant to say. And I'm not talking about people like what Maximilian Dude said, where Max said, there's a really cool game in here somewhere. I can see people thinking that. I personally think we've already got a cool game, right? It just needs to come out. That's what I personally think. And maybe I'm in a minority of that, but I definitely really, really loved it this time around. This will definitely be able to hold me over next year until Final Fantasy 16 comes out, probably around middle to late next year. Because if you don't know, that game is in its later stages of development now. You know, they finished the story, they've almost finished all the side quests, character models. That means probably the open world for it is done too. The gameplay is really good. They're in the polishing phase now, and the polishing phase will probably take another 7 or 8 months, maybe 9 months to do. So that game's probably going to come out middle next year is what I would say. Now, could this game get delayed? Absolutely. This game could absolutely get pushed back to May. It could. And in fact, I would say it's likely. It's likely that around January we get an announcement from the team saying this game is being delayed until May or June, right? Which would in turn push Final Fantasy 16 back a couple months, because you don't want them coming out 2 weeks from each other. You would choke the life from this game if you did that. But yeah, really cool. I can't wait to play this game. Really excited for it. Let me know what you think about it. And yeah, my name is Carmen, but I go by Ellis on YouTube. And thank you for watching. I'm gonna let this last little bit of the boss footage play out. Y'all take it easy.
How to see me? Just a cage of bones. There's nothing inside. Will it always be burning down the walls? Is there a way for me to break? I'm a sharpshooter at Post Masquerade. I'm in both face and mind, all free for you to draw. I'm a shapeshifter.